This episode is supported by Fulton Commons, and if you're looking for a place to co-work, look no further. It is a super cute space with lots of light, and it's great for individuals and organizations. Like us, CityCast is there, and I love to change up my workspace, and you can do that so easily just within the building. Like, I like to start out with a cup of coffee, looking out the window at the trees, then pop over to these bright pink booths, and then I end my day tucked into a desk at the library-inspired corner. But what's truly unique about Fulton Commons is the shared commercial kitchen on site. So for co-working members, this means lots of food-related events and maybe a taste of Pittsburgh's next big product. And for professionals, this is a perfect place to start or grow your business. There's over 8,500 square feet of kitchen space, and Fulton manages the kitchen infrastructure. There's access to equipment, storage, prep and cleaning areas, everything you need, whether you're a baker, prepared meal provider, food truck operator, or doing something else that's super cool in the food space. Visit FultonCommons.com to learn more and request a tour.
This is CityCast Pittsburgh. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. Pittsburgh has lost more than half its population since our peak in 1950, and our city has more than 20,000 vacant homes. But we also have a housing crisis. I'm with Charlie Wolfson, an enterprise reporter for Public Source. Charlie, make that make sense. A lot of people need places to live. We have 20,000 houses or places. What's going on?
Yeah, a lot of those 20,000 basically are not available to people who need a place to live for one of two main reasons. One is that a lot of them are so in disrepair that they're not livable. They're in some stage of collapse or unsafety. And then others are just not available to buy because the owner, sometimes long ago, just left or died and didn't designate a successor for the property. So nobody's marketing it for sale. It's not listed for sale. It's not clear how you would go about buying it. So it just kind of sits there. And those two things, sometimes overlapping, sometimes not, apply to many properties in Pittsburgh.
I feel like I've heard that phrase so many times. It was literally one of my first lessons in Pittsburgh is like, what is a tangled title?
Right.
Which is that thing you're talking about where like no one's clear who owns it and who can do what with it.
Yeah, and it's a huge problem that people at the city and like the Pittsburgh Land Bank are trying to figure out how to deal with more efficiently, but it's not easy to transfer title to a property when there's no owner around to facilitate that.
Yeah, and you have an example in one of your recent stories for Public Source that I feel like is almost even more complicated about a woman who was threatened with foreclosure 20 years ago. The bank filed, so she left the house, moved in with other family, life went on, and then she finds out recently that not only does she still own the property, that now she might be facing more problems because, of course, the house has like gotten worse and worse when 20 years goes by and no one's been living in it.
Yeah, this was an amazing story to me and is why we did this whole project. But I've come to learn that this has happened to a number of people in the city, not just this one woman. But basically 20 years ago, her home was in good condition and livable and nothing major was wrong with it. And now, like you said, she just found out she's owned the home this entire time. Now it's completely collapsed. I drove down to see it. The exterior walls are still there. So from a few yards away, it could look like a normal house. But if you walk up close, there's nothing in there. You look in the front window and you can see the sky. So now, obviously, that's kind of a hazard to just be there in the city without being demolished. So now the city has condemned the place and is taking legal action to compel the owner to demolish it, which is standard procedure in the city. If you own a house and it's a danger, you're responsible for remediating that. The problem is that demolitions are very expensive. She doesn't have that much money, and she didn't really have the opportunity to upkeep this house over the last 20 years, or at least so she feels, because she didn't know.
Yeah, how could you if you don't even know you own it anymore?
Yeah. So what happens in these cases where the owner is not going to do it is the city will put up the money to demolish it and then put a lien against the property, which just adds to the debt against this owner's name and makes it even harder for her to get it off her hands. And the city can't do that in all the cases it would want to because it just doesn't have that much money.
Yeah, and I feel like it's worth underscoring here, like the paperwork around home ownership is an actual nightmare. It is so complicated. You have to understand the legalese. And if you don't have any help to do that and someone tells you, hey, we're foreclosing, you need to get out, you just leave. Like that would be the natural next step.
Yeah, she said she was not interested in having a sheriff come to her house and put her on the street, which is understandable. Right? I wouldn't want that either. And her mom lived a mile away. She said, well, I'm not going to wait for that to happen. I'm just going to go move in with my mom. And that's what she did. If there was mail that would have alerted her that she still owned the house, it didn't get to her at her mom's house.
Well, and you said that you discovered that this is maybe more common than you thought. Do you have numbers for that? How do you even quantify it?
I don't have numbers, but I've just been talking to people who hang out around the magistrate courts and the places where these things are sorted out.
You know how to have a good time, Charlie.
I know. Well, at least I'm not hanging around there. I'm just talking to the people who do. And they say this happens like on a weekly basis. Somebody figures out that they own a home and it's now just in disrepair. So it's tough.
Well, so I guess let's zoom out a little. How bad is the housing shortage in Pittsburgh right now?
So there was a study a few years ago that found we're short I think like 7,000 affordable housing units. And then just beyond that, it's, as we reported in the fall with a series of articles, it's just generally getting harder for home ownership in particular. The affordable housing piece would, of course, include rental options. But beyond that, for people who can afford to rent an apartment, it's increasingly hard for them to move to that next step of owning a starter home. And these homes we're talking about right now, the ones that are falling into disrepair with tangled title, those are largely would be like starter home ownership opportunities if they were available. So that's what this piece is really affecting. And then as people move out of apartments into those starter homes, that frees up affordable apartments for people who need that. So it's really just jamming the whole system.
And even if you aren't looking to buy a home right now, like a starter home, like if that's not the thing like on your horizon, I feel like we all need to care about this though, because like we're all taxpayers. Right. And every single one of these homes that is not currently inhabited is not generating property tax revenue, which like we keep talking about our budget and not having enough money for things. This is part of why.
Yeah, if none of these homes were tax delinquent, I do not think city council would have raised the millage rate in December as they did, but because that would have added tens of millions of dollars to the revenue, which is what they needed. So it has a very distinct impact on everyone, even if you're not trying to buy a home.
Today's episode is supported by the Westmoreland Museum of Art. Y'all, I just went and it blew me away. It's been on my list for a long time. It's Western Pennsylvania's only museum dedicated to American art, and admission and parking are always free. Right now, they've got this exhibit, Steel Valley Visions, An American Legacy. It uses this really cool blend of historical and contemporary art to tell the story of how steel shaped our whole region. So there's stuff that used to be here, but a lot of stuff that you can still see. The pieces I loved most were the ones that didn't romanticize Pittsburgh. There's a piece by Colin Campbell Cooper that shows what the city looked like around 1905, and the colors are muted but still vibrant. It's our skyline from Mount Washington, so it feels familiar, but also everything in that image is kind of foreign. And that's the cool thing about this exhibit and an immersive experience in the same space. It all just sort of transports you. You will know these views, these landscapes, these sounds, but you'll get to feel them in a totally new way. Again, all this is totally free, no registration required. Learn more and plan your visit to the museum at thewestmoreland.org.
CityCast Pittsburgh is brought to you by Planned Parenthood of Western Pennsylvania, who believe that abortion services should always be safe, legal, and accessible. Abortion remains legal in Pennsylvania, but not every person who needs it can get access due to economic barriers. Even with insurance, coverage rules and financial roadblocks can leave patients unexpectedly paying out of pocket. The Vivian Campbell Fund at Planned Parenthood of Western Pennsylvania can help ease the ripple effect costs that show up in real life when scheduling medical care like abortion, such as gas and parking, long-distance travel, or childcare needs. It can even help offset hardship situations like job loss, housing instability, and more day-to-day challenges. Nobody should be forced to delay or go without critical health care because they can't afford it. Learn about Vivian Campbell's story and make a donation to this vital patient support fund at ppwp.org. A gift to the Vivian Campbell Fund is a direct way to support those who need it most. You can help protect abortion services in Western Pennsylvania by visiting ppwp.org and donating to the Vivian Campbell Fund today.
Today's show is supported by Vermont author Christopher Walker, who just released a thrilling adventure and fantasy book, The Ascent. It follows John Atwater, a retired Army veteran, who falls through a magical door and finds himself in the mystical world of Moralia. In order to get home, he must ascend the mountainous island that stands in front of him and usurp the oppressive ruler of this strange new world. The book has all the elements of a great fantasy novel: thrilling action sequences, magical creatures, betrayals, romance, compelling storylines, poetic justice, and even humorous exchanges by relatable characters. So go to ChristopherWalkerBooks.com and click on the Buy Now dropdown to purchase The Ascent in paperback, hardcover, or ebook formats.
What do you think the city could do about some of these abandoned houses? Like, we have this problem. We are all aware of it, thanks in part to your excellent reporting. What's the ideal solution?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of them are so far gone that they just have to demolish them now, which can cost anywhere from $30,000 to, like, in some cases, $100,000 to do per property.
Per house?
So, yeah.
Whoa.
It's amazing. So it gets a lot more complicated when it's a row house. And what they do, including in the example that I wrote about, they just demolish the one unit if they can save the other one. So they're just the guy compared it to extracting a tooth. It makes it hard for the other teeth to remain stable, which I didn't really know was true about teeth. I've never had that done. But
reporting teaches you so many things about life.
Apparently, it typically costs about $35,000 to demolish a house, but for each wall on either side they need to stabilize from a row house, it doubles the price. So if you have a row house where you have one on either side, then it's gets up around $100K. For the ones that are far gone, they just need to be torn down. They're just dangerous to be there. Nothing is ever going to get built on them. Nobody's going to buy the property if it's not torn down. But what a lot of policymakers are thinking about is how to prevent more properties from sliding into disrepair. And the way that they say to do that is for the city to step in and transfer the ownership much sooner in the process. So if the owner dies or leaves, right now those houses don't get addressed by the city until they have fallen apart. If a house sat abandoned and tax delinquent for, let's say, 5 years, and then after the 5th year the city came in and took it to sheriff's sale, at which point the original owner would have the opportunity to keep it if that owner still exists. But if they don't, then a new owner can get that house and live in it and make use of it, and it hasn't fallen apart yet. So that would prevent thousands of homes from falling into disrepair, and it would give people homes who need them. They would pay for them, but at an affordable price. That's not really being done right now, at least not at scale.
The foreclosure, completing the foreclosure process, you mean?
Yeah, the city is not facilitating foreclosure of homes until way far in the process, to the point where most of them just fall apart before it happens.
Do you know why? Is it that they don't have the authority, or just that they don't have capacity, or both?
They have the authority. The sheriff's sale mechanism exists. It has existed. They just don't do it. I don't really know why.
We won't make you answer for the city of Pittsburgh. You've done a lot of, I would say, pretty extensive reporting on potential solutions to the problem. And you hinted at it earlier, the land bank. I guess as simply and concisely as possible, what does a land bank do?
Yeah, so the land bank can take these so-called tangle titles, and basically they can scrub away the liens against a property to make them then attractive for somebody to buy. So if a property has fallen behind on taxes, let's say they owe like $50K to the school district, they owe $20K to the county, they owe something to the city, nobody's going to buy that because the property's not worth that amount of tax that the buyer would have to pay. So the land bank can come in and clear those back taxes to then find a buyer who will make it a productive property. And the reason the taxing bodies would agree to this deal is that if somebody comes in and makes that a productive property again, they'll start paying taxes on it, which will put revenue into those taxing bodies' bank accounts. Whereas if it just sat with those liens still on it, nobody's ever paying those liens back. So clearing the liens, forgiving that debt, and allowing a new owner to come in is actually a good financial move for the taxing bodies.
Could you clear the liens and then let the existing owner continue to live there? Like I'm just thinking about it, like sometimes you get behind on things, but that doesn't mean you wouldn't be a good steward if you could wipe the slate.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure the answer to that, but I can tell you that most of the properties in these situations don't have owners living in them to take advantage of that.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I'm probably thinking of the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, the vast majority of tax delinquent properties are vacant.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we've had our land bank for a long time. I think it was founded or started in 2014,
right.
But it just didn't move for the longest time. I mean, we did an episode of this show, I think when it was marking its 9th birthday, and it had done 5 whole properties. It's gotten better since then. I think I saw a report, it was at the end of last year, and they were saying that we expect to complete 100 property sales. Why did it take so long to get going?
I mean, 2 main reasons. One, it didn't receive much money in those first 8 or 9 years.
That's right. They got a lump sum at the start, and then that was basically it, which wasn't much either. It wasn't, what was $3 million or something?
That was what they got in 2021, but back in 14, I'm not sure if they got even that.
Got it.
But the other big reason is they didn't strike this deal with the taxing bodies until a couple of years ago. And
meaning the city, the county, the school district.
Exactly. Yeah. And there was a state law that they needed to have passed that didn't happen until a couple of years ago. So they were not really in a position to succeed until recently.
So are they in a position to succeed now, do you think?
Sort of. They have those legal processes in place, and I think their staff would be the first to tell you this, they just need more money to make a big dent in the problem here. We did an article about the Cleveland Land Bank that has had really great success. They're the leading example of land banks in the country. And the entire
Cleveland, man. I love it when they skunk us at something useful, Yeah.
The entire reason they have been able to do that is money. They get millions of dollars a year, some from the state government and some from local foundations. I interviewed them about it, and they're just yeah, you need money. So until that happens, it's hard to expect our land bank to do that much more than it is right now. And we could have the most competent land bank staff that's doing all the right things. And I have no evidence that we don't have that. And it's just going to be limited because of the money.
Yeah, I'm skimming your story right now. Okay, so ours was created in 2014. Theirs was in 2009, so 5 years older. Ours has done about 100 properties. Theirs has facilitated 10,000 demolitions, 2,600 renovations, and new construction of 243 houses. Talk about skunk. Wow.
Yeah, I think they have, I don't remember right now, but they have on their website some really large amount of tax revenue that they have now that they attribute to the land bank. So it's really proof of concept for the whole system.
Yeah, it says cut. I'm reading your story to you. Cut of the late fees residents pay on delinquent properties between $5 and $7 million. That's just late fees. And then all told brings in and spends about $30 million a year. Wow. Why can't we be like Cleveland, Charlie?
I think we would, if we wanted to do that, we'd have to give up being good at football. So I don't know if we're willing to do that.
I don't mean on the field. I mean, seriously, what would it take, I guess, or do you see any glimmers on the horizon? We have a new mayor, new administration, not a lot of spare money right now, but
right.
Could we be doing more? Do you see any evidence of a commitment like that?
I mean, there's certainly, you could see where it's possible. I mean, the Cleveland Land Bank gets a lot of funding from local foundations, nonprofits. A goal of our new mayor is to get nonprofits to donate to specific things, whereas previous mayors, particularly Mayor Gainey, wanted a lump sum of cash that the city can then do whatever with. Corey O'Connor has said, I'm going to ask for specific projects. If he made this a specific ask, you could see a major nonprofit give X amount of money a year for this specific project. I could see that happening. I have no evidence or reporting that says that's going to happen, but you could imagine that happening. And then the state piece where the state of Ohio sets up a framework where they get money every year. That's a little harder to see just because of how nothing is easy to see happening in Harrisburg. But there's definitely pathways there. I'm not going to say it's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, not just pathways. I would say there's also seems to be some amount of political will. There was a task force on sustainable funding for the land bank. They presented to city council last month, identifying a lot of those parcels that are vacant. They found 13,700 that would require some level of land bank intervention to return to public productive use. But that means they could be productive. They're not completely lost causes, but that it would take $32 to $35 million annually to be able to get them back up and going. I can't fathom where the heck Pittsburgh is going to find $30+ million anytime soon, unless a foundation steps in, or maybe multiple.
Yeah, but to be clear, there's a lot of things Pittsburgh could ask foundations to do. The mayor has specifically said he might try to get UPMC to fund new ambulances, which the city needs, and there's any number of things that money could go to. So I don't know that the land bank is the only people waiting for that. So it's complicated.
Yeah. I'm sure it's a crowded list. For what it's worth, too, I mean, when we talked to him last week on the show, he said that even demolitions, that I think the way he phrased it is we got away from that for a while, but if a house has got to go, it's got to go, and the city is going to take care of that. So that's something potentially to watch for, too.
I will say that, there were a lot of demolitions in the last 4 years. I don't know exactly what the mayor meant when he said we got away from it. Maybe he was referring to an earlier time. But when the city got a lot of money from the pandemic relief bill from Congress, they put a bunch of that towards demolitions, and they did more than usual in the last 4 years. So there's a little bit of momentum on that, but it's definitely the amount of money is lower now because those funds are gone.
How hopeful are you that something that you get to report good news on this in the year 2026? Let's put it that way.
Not that hopeful, just because things move so slowly. There wasn't good news on this the first several years I was doing this job, so I don't know that I would bet on it. Something good could happen, but I don't know.
We'll land it there.
Okay.
Charlie, thank you so much for your reporting. If you want to read all about homeownership in Pittsburgh, how complicated it can be, but also what's possible, that's one thing I love about your reporting, Charlie, is you also often leave us with potential solutions. If you're a power broker in the city of Pittsburgh or you have foundations, Charlie's got ideas. Just read the stories. We'll have links in our show notes. Charlie, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
That is all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. If you want to support us, we really, really appreciate it. It makes me feel good, but also it literally helps keep us in business. You can find all the details at membership.citycast.fm. We will be back tomorrow with more from around the city. We'll talk to you soon. Charlie, you're going to make people want to move to Ohio.
It wouldn't be such a housing shortage if they did.